At 9:36 local time on August 1st, 2025, the guided missile destroyer USS Dewey entered the Taiwan Strait and brought her flight deck to life. Hangar doors slid open, yellow shirts waved wands, and an MH-60R Seahawk was towed into position. Dewey is an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, armed with Tomahawks, SM-2S, ESSMs, and Phalanx guns. A warship built to fight in every domain. The Seahawk is her airborne extension, a submarine hunter and scout that turns one ship into a task force. But it wasn't an ordinary day. It marked the 98th anniversary of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, a date Beijing uses to project strength. The encounter became another reminder of the entrenched military rivalry between the two powers and China's attempt to stage a display of capability. The Taiwan Strait remains one of the world's most dangerous and undisputed flashpoints, a narrow corridor where global trade, military power, and political ambition collide. Launching a Seahawk helicopter here is like dangling raw meat in shark-infested waters. You know something will take the bait. The captain also knew that just 53 miles away at Long Tian Air Base in Fujian, a Chinese radar operator was already on the phone. To Beijing, the Seahawk was not a patrol asset. It was a provocation. And orders from above would be predictable: intercept and drive it away. Across the strait, operators tracked the Seahawk as it climbed to 300 feet and turned onto its patrol course. Higher command passed instructions down. No American aircraft loiters unchallenged. The intercept order was given. The aircraft chosen was unconventional. Not a fighter jet, not a drone. A Shanghai Z-10 attack helicopter, designed for land battlefields but now pressed into maritime duty. Its stub wings carried TY-90 short-range air-to-air missiles. A 23 mm cannon hung under its chin. Its targeting radar spun up as rotor blades clawed humid summer air. China's gamble was clear: send an attack helicopter against a U.S. Navy Seahawk. A risky, asymmetric show. By 11:30, the Seahawk's ESM console lit up with sharp spikes, narrow-band, X-band emissions, airborne targeting radars. The crew tagged the fingerprints and pushed them by Link 16 back to Dewey. In CIC, the captain ordered MCON, electromagnetic silence. He knew the Seahawk could gather more by listening than by transmitting. Dewey's Aegis combat system stitched the tactical picture. One friendly Seahawk, two inbound helicopters leaving Fujian. Dozens of surface contacts scattered across the strait. Fishing boats, cargo ships, and several vessels moving too deliberately. The captain recognized the pattern instantly: maritime militia, civilian craft operating for Beijing. Their role wasn't combat. Their role was cameras. Position them ahead of Dewey. Catch a staged moment where the U.S. destroyer yields and feed it to CCTV. The captain ordered a minor course correction, enough to deny them an engineered collision without changing his transit. Dewey would not provide the shot Beijing wanted. The Seahawk is called visual. In about 7 minutes, two Z-10S closed fast, stub wings armed, and turrets fixed forward. One slid onto the Seahawk's left wing, 300 meters off. The other stacked high and aft, nose dipped, a bracket intercept. The lead Z-10 crossed in front of the Seahawk, barely 500 feet away, rotor wash shaking the cabin. The Seahawk pilot corrected smoothly. No overreaction, no panic. The crew chief's hand hovered over the flare switch, but rails stayed cold. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the aircraft that met in the strait: China's Z-10 attack helicopter and America's MH-60R Seahawk. The Z-10 pressed low across the strait, its rotors biting hard into the humid summer air. Designed as China's answer to the Apache, the attack helicopter carried TY-90 short-range air-to-air missiles slung under stub wings and a 23 mm nose cannon that could shred armored vehicles. But the Z-10 was built for ground attack, not long-endurance patrols over the sea. At 180 knots, its WZ-9 engines screamed at full torque, gulping kerosene at a punishing rate. The MH-60R Seahawk, by contrast, barely flinched. The U.S. Navy's multi-mission workhorse, it wasn't designed just for one battlefield role, but for many. Anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface strike, search and rescue, surveillance, and electronic warfare. Its crew operated a suite of sensors the Z-10 could never match. AN/APS-153 multi-mode radar, ALQ-210 electronic support measures, and dipping sonar hanging ready in the cabin. Where the Z-10 strained just to keep station, the Seahawk gathered fingerprints of every radar pulse, every electronic emission, packaging it for relay back to USS Dewey via Link 16s. On the surface, tension grew. 4 militia boats shifted into a neat line across Dewey's projected path. Bridge-to-bridge warnings went out in clear English. United States Navy warship conducting lawful transit in international waters. The boats didn't move. Their mission was clear: force Dewey to yield for the cameras. The captain ordered his RIBs manned and fire hoses rigged. He knew the militia weren't there to ram, just to press close enough for a clip that CCTV could edit into American retreat. Dewey steamed on, ignoring the trap. Meanwhile, the Seahawk climbed to 350 feet and released a string of sonobuoys into a submarine lane. Standard anti-submarine warfare, perfectly legal. But the act carried a quiet message. Even under harassment, U.S. patrols would continue. Inside, the crew checked their navigation screens, 50 nautical miles from the nearest Chinese claimed coast. Well inside international airspace. The aircraft commander acknowledged a Mandarin challenge transmission, then did nothing. No turn, no climb, no change in speed. The Americans knew their rights, and they exercised them. The Z-10S pressed closer. One skimmed the wave tops, then pulled sharply under the Seahawk, forcing turbulence. The other orbited above. EO turret locked on the American helo. Inside, the operator calmly zoomed in, recording serial numbers, rotor harmonics, even thermal signatures. The PLA wanted propaganda. The US collected data. Then a new threat emerged. Aegis painted a destroyer, leaving Xiamen Naval Base. A Type 052D Luyang Vidshi. Its massive Type 346A phased array radar shifted to track Dewey directly. In CIC SOSTs, firing solutions lit across screens, SM-2 for long range, ESSM for medium, CRAM for close. Every system had a green tree. The captain kept weapons cold. He knew restraint under lock-on was the hardest kind of discipline. The Z-10S split wide. One ahead, one aft. A box trap. If the Seahawk flinched, one could move to weapons range. Instead, the pilot eased power, shifted altitude, and slipped out of the bracket. Calm, professional. The geometry collapsed. Remember those militia boats? They edged closer, crews on deck with cameras rolling. Beijing wanted footage of Dewey yielding. Instead, the destroyer's bow cut through the water exactly on course. The only image they captured was an American warship refusing to blink. Then came escalation. The lead Z-10 dropped closer, within 400 meters of Dewey's deck, EO turret staring at the bridge. The captain ordered CIWS to track. R2D2 mounts word. Vulcan cannons spun to pre-fire speed. The Z-10 cockpit lit with warning tones. The system was one heartbeat from firing. The pilot backed off. He had tested the line and found it absolute. Overhead, contrails appeared. 2 F/A-18E Super Hornets from a nearby carrier strike group. They stayed high, above 20,000 feet. They didn't need to descend. Their presence alone changed the equation. Every radar in Fujian saw them. The silent message, If this escalates, the US has layers of power waiting. But the knife-edge moment came anyway. The Seahawk suddenly broke hard, banking sharply and releasing flares. A Z-10 caught in its rotor wash swerved violently. For a second, it looked like it might lose control and hit the sea. If it had crashed, Beijing could have labeled it an American provocation, and the strait it might have erupted overnight. Dewey pulsed her SPY-1 radar to full power. In both Z-10 cockpits, alarms screamed. They were painted, targeted, seconds from destruction. The only reason they lived to fly home was because the captain's finger never twitched. By 0456, fuel running low, propaganda footage secured, the Z-10S turned west. The 052D eased off into shadow. The militia boats drifted back into fishing patterns. Dewey never altered course. Mission complete. But every sailor on board knew how close they had come. The Taiwan Strait has always been a fault line where routine patrols brush against national pride, and this encounter was no exception. CCTV cameras captured pixelated silhouettes and triumphant narration, claiming the PLA had expelled a foreign aircraft. Washington said nothing, letting professionalism speak louder than propaganda. The truth was simple. A U.S. Navy Seahawk completed its mission, steady and calm, even under direct challenge. Dewey stayed her course. The PLA staged their show. The Navy gathered real intelligence. No shots were fired, but every maneuver carried the weight of escalation. In waters where seconds and meters separate routine patrol from open conflict, restraint itself became the most powerful weapon.